Welcome to this Florida Department of Transportation training. Preparation Steps is part of a video series providing guidance for sociocultural effects evaluations for transportation projects. The preparation steps for sociocultural effects evaluation are steps 1 through 3 of the evaluation process. Step 1 is to review the project information. Step 2 is to define the study area encompassing areas with potential for project effects. And Step 3 is to prepare community information that describes demographics and community resources in potentially affected areas. All 6 steps of the sociocultural effects evaluation process are discussed in the department's practical application guides for SCE evaluations. These guides are companion resources to this video series. Let's get started. Step 1 involves review of information about the project and the project context that's already been compiled for the SCE evaluation, as well as information from any evaluations performed for the project in the past. This information includes the project description, context data from a resource database, prior public input, and prior agency input. This step also includes some initial data collection through field review of the project area and community outreach. A critical piece of information to the SCE evaluation is the project description. The project description reports what is known about a project at the time of the evaluation. This includes the project purpose and need, which is a concise statement of why the transportation action is necessary, along with other needs the project would help fulfill. The project description contains the project name and type, the geographic limits and length of the project, general description of physical features such as the number of lanes, and select information about context and trends. It may be refined from one project phase to another to respond to new information or changed conditions. During the project development phase, additional project information may be available from the PD&E project manager, such as relevant technical or feasibility studies. A wide range and variety of data for evaluation of project effects is available on the department's Environmental Screening Tool, a database linked to the robust resources of the Florida Geographic Data Library. The Environmental Screening Tool generates reports and maps describing the community context for select project buffer areas ranging from 100 feet to up to 1 mile. The subject matter encompasses the full array of environmental issues, including the 6 sociocultural effects issues, and provides a quick glimpse of community resources and demographics in the project area. The database information is the data starter set for SCE evaluation that will need to be verified and possibly supplemented in subsequent steps of the process. A database feature of the Environmental Screening Tool is the Sociocultural Data Report. This report conveys key demographic data plus existing land use and community facility information for census places, user-defined communities such as those delineated by a local government, and the 500-foot buffer for projects that have been uploaded on the Environmental Screening Tool. The report is also generated for each Florida county for purposes of comparison. The latest census data, as well as trend data dating back to the 1990 census, provide a snapshot of the community's history and an indication of its future trajectory. The Environmental Screening Tool also has an Area of Interest tool that can generate a sociocultural data report and the GIS report mentioned in the last slide for customized geographic areas. Data sets on the Environmental Screening Tool are also accessible from its interactive map viewer. You can learn more about the Environmental Screening Tool features by visiting the department's website. The Transportation Outreach Planner provides community data in a map viewer and report formats for locations within Broward, Miami-Dade, and Palm Beach counties. More details about this tool are available on the web address shown. Another interactive mapping tool is EJView, a product of the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. EJView allows users to create maps and generate detailed reports based on the geographic areas and data sets they choose. The database includes demographic, health, environmental, and facility level data at census block and block group levels. This tool can be accessed on the U.S. EPA webpage shown. The project file may contain public input that was documented during a prior study or evaluation of the project. Public input can provide insights on the community's perception of the project including if the community supports the project purpose and need, if there are issues and concerns about the project, suggested solutions to project effects, and desired project features. If prior public input is available, assess the quality of the input for its ability to inform the identification and assessment of potential sociocultural effects. Then determine the extent to which additional public involvement will be needed and where community outreach should be focused during the SCE evaluation. The SCE evaluation draws from the findings of any evaluations conducted for the project in the past. Review the project file for prior evaluations and any agency input on potential project effects. Look for comments on effect types related to the SCE issues and indication of the severity of potential effects. For ETDM projects, agency input of this nature is accessible via the environmental screening tool along with the associated ETDM project summary report. The summary report identifies potential effects and may call for further community outreach and data collection for issues of concern. Review the project file for any agency recommendations coming out of the prior evaluation. The preliminary environmental discussion is another possible source of information for SCE evaluation. Project technical studies may also contain relevant information about the community and the potential for effects. Additional community data is collected during field review, which is typically a windshield survey of the 500-foot area surrounding the project. The field review has two main purposes. One is to verify the database information, and the other is to identify features and characteristics not revealed by the data. Before going out, prepare a map of the 500-foot project buffer showing aerial imagery and community features from the database. When you are out, observe the surroundings and note features pertinent to the SCE evaluation that are not shown on the map. A handheld GPS unit is useful for collecting the precise location of missing features for subsequent updating of the digital data. Photograph the existing transportation facility, community resources that could be affected by the project, and human activity. Take notes on how people use the project area, land uses, and where there appear to be community boundaries. In preparation for SCE evaluation, we need to know if the inventory of community information is accurate and complete, what are the community's values, preferences, and concerns about the project, and how the community's history and goals for the future relate to the project and the potential for effects. Some sources of this information include NPO and local government planners, government advisory boards and committees, and community and resource user groups. The extent of the community outreach effort for SCE evaluation is influenced by the project phase, scope, and potential for effects. Step 2 of the process is to define the study area for the sociocultural effects evaluation. For SCE evaluation, the study area is the geographic area or areas where potentially affected communities and community resources are located. Study area boundaries define the geographic extent of the evaluation. When delineating the study area, we consider the study area for SCE evaluations conducted for a prior project phase, the project's physical and operational characteristics, context information compiled in Step 1, and the potential for project effects. The study area is generally the area adjacent to the project plus an appropriate buffer area. The extent of the study area will differ by project phase. When a project is first evaluated in the planning phase, a broad study area sheds light on communities and community resources where effects from the project could be felt. At this stage, the study area will include all of the preliminary alternatives initially under consideration. The evaluation conducted for programming consideration focuses on project alternatives carried forward from prior evaluations and potential effects that were identified. For project development, the study area is refined again to encompass the remaining alternatives and remaining areas with effects potential. In the absence of prior SCE evaluations, the study area for the present evaluation, regardless of phase, should be sufficiently broad to reveal communities and resources that could be affected as a result of the project. For additional guidance on buffer selection, refer to the SCE issue sheets on the department's webpage. The potential for effects is sensitive to the project's physical and operational characteristics. As such, the geographic extent of the study area will be influenced by the project type, scale and extent, and features of significance to the environmental evaluation. If the estimated typical section for the project is particularly wide, as in the case of an expressway, the extent of the study area would compensate for the large project footprint. And, as mentioned before, the study area should encompass all viable project alternatives. Using what you have learned thus far about the project and the project context, consider locations where project effects could occur and factor that into the delineation of the study area. The range of potential transportation-related effects are categorized under the 6 sociocultural effects issues, which are discussed in detail in the department's Sociocultural Effects Evaluation Process video series. The geographic span of one effect type may be different from another, so the study area will not necessarily be the same for all effects. Review the compiled information from Step 1 relative to the range of project buffers. Then approximate the areas that could be affected as a result of the project, taking into consideration findings from any prior project evaluations. Remember that the study area becomes more focused in subsequent project phases, so may not need to be as large as the study area defined for a past evaluation. SCE evaluation considers the potential for negative effects and positive effects as a result of the project. Generally, negative effects are mostly experienced closer to the project and tend to decrease as you move farther from the project. For example, a project's economic benefits often ripple throughout the region where negative effects are undetected. Therefore, the SCE evaluation study area should encompass only those areas having potential for positive and negative effects. Next, select an appropriate project buffer by effect type. The shape of the buffer can be adjusted to conform to the effect area, like that shown for study areas E and L, abbreviations for economic and land use changes. Select the buffer encompassing all effects of a particular type. This will be the preliminary study area. Later in Step 3, after all of the community data is compiled, the study area will be revisited and adjusted as needed to reflect the data. You can use the Area of Interest tool feature in the Environmental Screening tool to draw a customized study area for which database information can be extracted and reported. The last step in preparation for SCE evaluation includes collecting additional data to support a thorough evaluation. Investigation of community characteristics in the study area is continued in Step 3 by collecting data about demographics, community boundaries, important community resources, community history and trends, and community goals and values. Collection of community information begins in the project planning phase and is updated in subsequent evaluations as necessary to sufficiently evaluate any unresolved SCE issues. The compiled community information from Step 1 is the base data for this step. We look to multiple sources for details about the study area community, including the U.S. Census Bureau for demographic data, government agencies such as local government, transportation planning organizations, and the county property appraiser's office, past plans or studies that describe the community and possibly its history and goals, community organization websites and newsletters, and also local newspaper and blog archives that may indicate local demographics and values, as well as past or present efforts to collect community opinions about the study area. You can find a listing of data sources by SCE issue on the department's website. More information about demographic analysis is available on the department's SCE webpage, including videos such as demographic analysis for environmental evaluation and facilitating equitable outcomes, and various information resources in PDF. Information on community boundaries, officially designated or otherwise, is collected for the community inventory. Cohesive communities tend to have similarities, such as demographics, land use pattern, year established, community facilities, activities, effects from past actions, and physical boundaries. The MPO or local government may have information on designated community boundaries in the study area or an idea where informal boundaries are located. The potential for project effects on important community resources is a consideration of SCE evaluation. The community inventory therefore contains a full spectrum of important community places and features in the study area, including residential places, community focal points, community facilities and services, historic places, cherished places, economic places, and any facility, service, or other resource that is significant to the people in the community. Refer to the SCE issue sheets on the department's website for a listing of resources by SCE issue. Gather information on history and trends in the study area that pertain to the sociocultural issues. The Sociocultural Data Report provides demographic trend information for periods between 1990 and the latest issue of the American Community Survey. History and trend information is particularly important to identifying potential indirect and cumulative effects of the project. Then obtain information that indicates the community's goals and values. You may find this information in local plans such as adopted vision plans or comprehensive plans, policies prescribing a certain character for the built environment, and programs to protect valued resources. Related information may be gleaned from articles in the local newspaper and from commentary collected during project public involvement activities. Once you have collected all of the information you determined is needed for the SCE evaluation, the next task is to assess it for its ability to accurately portray the community, identify all important community resources, and inform the identification and assessment of potential effects for each SCE issue. If you have any reservations about the accuracy of the information, you'll want to resolve those issues before moving to step 4 of the evaluation. Then, based on all that you've learned about the community up to this point, make any needed adjustments to the preliminary study area boundaries. Once you feel confident about the community data you have compiled, organize it so it's easy to access during the remaining steps of the SCE evaluation. One method is to organize the data under the SCE issues. Along with the database information, include field review data and information collected from local sources, demographic data, public input for the present evaluation as well as relevant input from prior evaluations, and the study area selected for the SCE issues or possibly to individual SCE effects. Now you are ready to proceed to step 4 to begin identifying and assessing potential sociocultural effects. This concludes the training on preparation steps for sociocultural effects evaluation. If you have questions about SCE evaluation or suggestions for a training topic, please contact Dr. Rusty Endemoser, State Public Involvement and Community Resources Coordinator. Links to resources referenced in this video are listed on the following slide. Additional resources and guidance are available on the department's SCE webpage. Thank you for viewing this production of the Florida Department of Transportation.